Hello, Next Geners. Welcome to our Monday review show where we're rapt to be joined by the greatest of all time. Ollie, how does the term GOAT sit with you?
As long as it's in good context, I don't mind it. It's okay.
Yeah, I think the likes of LeBron and Tiger Woods are pretty comfortable with the term as well, mate. I'll ask a tough question off the top. Have you been able to play any golf recently?
Yeah, just starting to get back into it. I had 9 holes last week and another 9 holes again this morning. So, yeah, starting to get back into it a bit.
Probably not surfing?
No, I haven't been for a surf yet.
All right, well, that's a great way to break up the week. Congratulations on your Saturday at Caulfield, mate. It must have been a real thrill to win the Caulfield Guineas on Anamoe.
Yeah, it was a huge thrill. He's the horse has always shown so much potential, and to win a big 3-year-old sort of stallion-making race for him and Godolphin, it was fantastic.
I think the stat went around during the week that you hadn't won the race since 1990. For those who are Ollie fans, they would have seen that stat and chucked it in the bin. But does that play on your mind at all? How do you go into a race when you got that sort of stat being thrown around during the week?
Yeah, it had been a little bit of a bogey race for me, I suppose you might say. I had a lot of placings in it, but hadn't managed to win it for a long time. But yeah, look, it's one of those big races that you need a bit to go your way. One, you need to be on a really good colt to win on it, and two, you need a bit to go your way as well. So fortunately, those things came together for us this week.
Well, Hayden and I were both on Anamoe. It was hard not to be and hard not to follow that Caulfield, that Golden Rose form. Hayden, what did you make of Anamoe? He probably lived up to expectations.
Yeah, I think he did. Sometimes people get a little bit underwhelmed when it comes to A, margining, and B, when there is a close margin in a race like this. They do judge the winner on basically the horse it beat. I thought the performance was sensational. We spoke about the race in the lead up. There was a lot of communication surrounding barriers, etc. Damien, I was of the opinion that you would have looked at that wider gate for a horse like Anamoe and thought that would have been a golden position, especially when you had your main danger, Artorias, drawn, in a very awkward spot, pinned close to the fence. Did you go into the race thinking that the gate was a little bit of a blessing?
I wouldn't say a blessing, but, perhaps probably you'd rather draw out than ride in on a horse like him. But as you know, races don't always work out the way that you plan them to. And we weren't to know, although Artorias can be a little bit slow out of the gates, that he would be that slow and that far out the back. And but as the race unfolded and we went, the first 200 metres, it was looking nice on the back of Captivant. But then you never quite know how hard they're going to go early, or if there's going to be that real jack off in the mid race of the race where they're going to slow up and they bunch up, and there can be some interference sometimes, or horses can be taking off, but that didn't occur on this occasion. It was nice and smoothly run, and I had a nice flow into the race, so it worked out pretty well.
The 3-year-olds are known, especially in races of this nature, Guineas, Golden Roses, etc., that the 3-year-old boys especially, they can put some serious velocity into that first section. Alpine Edge here, 13.5 lengths above benchmark through the first section. You're on Anamoe going 8 lengths above. Do you feel like on a horse like Anamoe that he's going career fastest? Can you feel that underneath you, the velocity that they are travelling early?
Yeah, usually when you're riding, the best indication of how your horse is travelling. If they're going fast and bigger pressure races and bigger fields generally build up a lot more speed. And I could tell by the way I was travelling mid-race that the tempo had been quite genuine and sustained too. They didn't really slow off that mid-race like they can do sometimes if they do go a bit hard in the first quarter of a race. So the way he was travelling mid-race, it indicated to me that he wasn't really travelling keen on the bridle, and that I even actually had to give him a little squeeze mid-race to get back up travelling, that it was genuinely run.
It's a fascinating thing. For those watching, we hear a lot of commentary around the Caulfield Hill, and when you come from the gate, especially from the mile start. And Michael Walker was quite boisterous about it on the Channel 7 broadcast on the weekend, saying that it's pretty much game over if your horse has to work hard up that hill the first time. The Caulfield Hill seems to be something that you're just a master of. give us a little bit more of an insight on that hill and what's going through your head that first section of the race.
Yeah, well, it's a I'm not sure of how steep the rise is, but it might be in the 2 to 4 meter sort of category from where you start to the top of the hill. And obviously it's the first quarter of the race too. So if you're working hard in that part of the race, you want to be trying to conserve your horse for some part of the race so they've got a good finish on them. So if you're using up petrol, if you like, in the first quarter, it's gonna hurt your petrol gauge at the middle and end part of a race. So if you can conserve some energy there and not do too much, and sometimes that comes down to where you've drawn, how the race structure is, and where you're going to be. And it just means you're going to have more horse underneath you when it comes down to the business part of the race.
Well, for the punters following Anamoe, I guess it never looked like you were going to lose. The run looked like it was panning out perfectly. When did you know you were the winner, or did you think at one point that, gee, I've got a bit of ground to make up?
Yeah, coming around the home turn, I was quietly confident that I was in a good position and travelling a horse in Captivant was taking me into the race. And then I was just mindful of not getting to him too soon. So I just waited a little bit as we got into the straight, and then once I got towards and inside the 200, that's when I made my move on him and challenged Captivant. And he took a little bit of getting past, but I think that was also due to the sustained tempo in the race as well, that I wasn't able to put a big margin on him. And I felt that even also that Anamoe, he actually just waited and pricked his ears a little bit when he got to the front as well.
I think you've been asked this question a few times, but Cox Plate looks natural for him, doesn't it? The 3-year-olds have a great record in the race, and he's got a real sort of Piero feel from a class perspective about him. He just deserves to be in a race like a Cox Plate, I would have thought.
Yeah, he's always shown that, the further distance he got out, particular to a mile, that he'd be well suited. I mean, he hasn't obviously gone past that yet. On his dam side, there's a bit of staying pedigree with Anamoe. I think she was placed, or she definitely ran in some oaks. Street Boss is a speed side of him. So, but he's always shown with his temperament and his action and the ground that he covers that getting out further in distance would be more suitable for him.
Hayden, last one on Anamoe. What do you think heading into a Cox Plate?
Well, if you go back 3 days, you wouldn't have, most people talking that the Cox Plate was a foregone conclusion, that it was Zaki and then everybody else would go round for second and it was game over. Well, Zaki's, he's disappointed somewhat on the weekend. And this bloke's running numbers that 100% put him right in the mix when it comes to a Cox Plate. And he looks like he's got the right profile for this year's Cox Plate. So typically in a Cox Plate, I would give him very little hope. And I would assess the Cox Plate as being probably 4 lengths too strong for a horse like him. He's, he's not too distant from a horse like Castle Vecchio. He was extraordinary in a Cox Plate. But this year, I don't think you're going to have to go to that level. You may not even have to go to like the League Richoux level, where she's run and won and run well, but she hasn't gone right to her peak. She's gone around that 8 lengths above IDR benchmark level. Anything with the 6s this year is going to qualify you. And he's just got a little bit of that fighting spirit. He's got a little bit of tenacity, which is what you need to in a Cox Plate. I think if Damien chopped a leg off and he could ride him, I think he'd be more than happy too.
Well, Ollie, you've booked for Gold Trip. If you could ride both, would you pick Anamoe over Gold Trip?
That's a bit of a hypothetical there, but look, if I could ride the weight on Anamoe, I'd probably, I wouldn't have committed to probably Gold Trip in the first place. But knowing that I can't ride that weight, then it wasn't really a question I had to answer.
Do you get a chance to get out and ride Gold Trip at Werribee at some point?
I'm hoping to, yes, yeah.
All right, let's have a look at the Herbert Power. Obviously, the win on Delphi heads into the Caulfield Cup. Really interesting, Hayden, that last start, Delphi had that, I think he was 3 lengths above benchmark through that first section. He looks like a very tractable horse, Ollie, because different style performance on the weekend, yet he still just put away his opponents. He does look like he's tractable.
Yeah, I think he is. Yeah, he's got a bit of speed and he can sustain that as well. It's my first ride on him, but he was able to take up a good position. And I think he's even done that, at the shorter trips too. He's raced quite handy. His form seems to be improving as he goes out in distance, and he seems to be quite a tough horse. So I think the backup will suit him. So yeah, that's why I was keen to ride him at the 53 and have a crack at trying winning another Caulfield Cup.
When was the last time you rode at 53?
Yeah, I think it was. I was talking to Bruce Clark this morning. It was about 11 or 12 years ago, something like that, on a horse called Warringah in the Melbourne Cup.
Obviously, you believe you can get there. What's this week going to look like?
Yeah, it's pretty lean, a bit more exercise and a bit more healthy eating. And it'll be as much a mental battle as it is physical, I think.
What are some of the healthy meals that aren't going to, I guess, put you down? I guess guys like us, we're probably not into the veggies, but you've probably got to be to be in your position.
Yeah, a lot of fruit and veggies, fish, a little bit of lean meat, and trying to cut right back on the sugar and salt. And
being in lockdown, we can see in the background you've got the what do you call it, Hayden? I don't even.
Yeah, I think the sportsmen call that a treadmill, Damien.
That's why I couldn't think of the name, mate. On the treadmill, I'm guessing some weights, and have you got a bike at home too?
Yeah, that's a bike there. I've got a treadmill upstairs. So my wife's helping me a lot with the food, and she's taught me into getting into Ted Lasso on Netflix. So I'm going to pin that on the treadmill and chain myself to it and just keep going.
Clearly incentivised as $2 favourite, but you feel like the Caulfield Cup might be a little bit more open than that?
Well, he's looked really good, obviously, his first two starts in Melbourne and what he's done in Brisbane. But they have been at Flemington. He's got to get around Caulfield. And, just sometimes those Queensland horses, as we've seen with Zaki, their first two runs, and I've seen it in the past as well, they're great. They've got a little bit of a head start wintering in Queensland in the warmer weather there. And, they're fit. They've probably got a bit of residual fitness than some of the Melbourne horses in the early part. But then I think the gap can narrow and they can catch up to them as it get deep into the spring. And, and the questions there too, whether those horses after sustained Brisbane carnivals can maintain that high level as well. So, I'm interested to see how he goes when he gets to Caulfield, because he's a big striding, a big sort of galloping horse. So that's not going to be easy for him. And as we saw, Zaki got beat on the weekend as well at his third run back. So it'll be interesting to see how this horse goes.
Very much so, Hayden. Can Delphi win the Caulfield Cup? As I said, looks like Delphi's got a number of different tricks up his sleeve.
He's a very interesting horse. He's been the progressive one the whole way along. He put the writing on the wall in his first start for the campaign. And I sort of thought, I don't know where you sit. And there was a lot of reports from the mounting yard saying the horse had a ton of improvement to come. You only had to see with Artorias when he went to the Golden Rose, when he exploded. Every ratings guy in Australia just put him through the roof. You can never, ever, ever underestimate how good the Freedmans are when it comes to grand final trainers. And if there's anybody that would know that, it's the guy that we're talking to right now. You see horses go around 2 weeks before and you think to yourself, that horse couldn't win that race in a million years. And then they come out and they're completely different animals. They're freaks at what they do. I'd like your assessment, Ollie, but I think in my time, only Bart and to some point the Hayes camp, they've been the only ones who could really change a horse's ability basically within 2 weeks. They are just the ultimate grand final trainers.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, all very good trainers. There's probably a few others there. I think Danny O'Brien's a good target trainer as well, who I've ridden for over the years. And there's a knack to it in itself, having a horse peaking on the day. And, the Freedmans have been great at it for a long period of time. And I even felt riding this horse Saturday, I looked at him after I got off him and I felt there was improvement to come as well.
He's. I like to think that I'm the only person in Australia who knows what you're thinking when you're on a horse and at the 600 metre mark. I've got a good idea whether I'm going to be collecting my money or not. There's a couple of certain movements that you make around the 400 metre mark that gives me the instinct of, yes, I'm going to have a payday, or unfortunately, I'm just going to be crying on the lounge room floor. This was one of the odd ones. I didn't know what was going through your head at the time. And this was a really odd movement for you to take off when you did on this horse. That's not, to me, that's not your riding style or your typical riding pattern. The squeeze was pretty big here. Like your squeeze during the mid-race was 12.5 lengths and your horse looked like he was really travelling. Did you feel like the leaders were going to capitulate? You might have had a couple of stealth bombers on your back, or did you just feel like it's checkmate, I've got you, see you later?
I'm glad you know what I'm thinking, because I don't know what I'm thinking half the time in a race. Look, at this race, I felt they just steadied up quite a bit through the mid stages, and I felt this horse, Sam indicated to me, and I looked at his form in overseas as well, and he could sustain a good gallop. He's led and sustained a good gallop leading as well. So I felt, and even Johnny Allen told me in his previous race that he can sustain a gallop. So I was armed with a few. With a bit of information about the horse. So I felt that off the slow pace that my horse could sustain a gallop like that, and he'd be well suited doing that. He was primed to do it after having 2 runs. So when you've got that information from people around you that have been dealing with the horse firsthand, it gives you good ammunition, you might say, to back yourself and ride that kind of race.
And you're going to, in all honesty, you understood what John Allen said to you?
Yeah, with the subtitles, yeah.
I actually thought the ride on Delphi was the ride of the day. I thought, Ollie, the way you just took off on them and left them wanting. You knew you were on the best horse, and I don't think it ever looked like they were going to catch you. I know Jai McNeil's ride on I'm Thunderstruck, there was a lot of luck involved in that. I'm interested in your take. Have you seen the overhead shot of the Toorak and what went on with Jai trying to get weave through on I'm Thunderstruck?
Well, I know the chopper shot was good, but I even had a better view. I was right behind him.
Yeah,
I can tell you during a lot of the race, it wasn't too pretty watching from behind, because it was pretty rough, and it was great nerve by Jai. Obviously he had the horse underneath him to do it. You can't always ride one like that if you haven't got the old saying, sometimes the gaps are going quicker than the horse, but he had the horse to take the gaps. But very brave by horse and jockey. And, I actually said to him when he pulled up, it was a thoroughly deserved win.
Yeah, I actually sent him a text because I thought it was outstanding. And as you said, I've never ridden a horse, but the chopper looked like every time that gap opened, I'm Thunderstruck wanted to take it. And I guess when you're on the horse, you got to know that your horse is willing to take that gap. Is that fair? Yeah,
that's a good point. If you've got horse traveling underneath you, you can sometimes force your way through and travel through some narrow gaps. But if you're not going well, it's not a wise decision to try and take that gap, because you mightn't always make it through them.
Hayden, we thought we were both actually on Superstorm Ollie, and if we said before the race that he was going to run the figure that you've got, Hayden, we probably thought he'd win. But I'm Thunderstruck and Tofane have both sort of run out of their skin.
Yeah, they have. We were taken by the horse's start prior, where it was a race shape that he really wasn't accustomed to. But we both were of the opinion that would have battle hardened him coming into this, and he looked like this was going to be his golden opportunity to win a race of this, in the Group 1 status here in Victoria. And pretty much he's exceeded the expectations from us. It's just unfortunate for him that the other two have gone through the roof. He's extremely hard to fault. I mean, I was of the opinion that this horse wouldn't have been out of place this campaign in the Caulfield Cup. If they had their time over again, is that something that they would have considered?
Yeah, I actually did mention it to Danny and Bob Peters. Bob was a little bit suspect about him running the 1.5 miles. And I think that's the reason they kept him to the shorter distances.
Is there any possibility that he goes to a Cox Plate from that, or have they sort of half thrown the toys out of the cot and they're going to reassess for a race like a Cantala or something?
I'm not certain. I think both options are still on the table. Bob will make the decision. You know, he likes to really get involved with the program of his horses. But I think, you know, he wouldn't be able to place in either, but I really think Flemington would suit him the mile there.
Yeah, it seems like I had a chat to Bob Peters on Sunday morning, and it seems like that's the way they'll head. He might have to carry some weight, but Ollie, did you feel like, yeah, that was a Group 1 performance from him? He's back to sort of his best, and he'll be competitive in the Cantala, even if he has to carry weight?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, as you guys said, he ran great on Saturday, and when I pulled out at the top of the straight, I thought I was a winning chance. But you know, I'm Thunderstruck's a very good horse, very well weighted at the moment and in great form. So, you know, he was on the minimum weight, going to be really hard to beat there. And as you said, Tafone, she's a consistent Group 1 performer as well. So, and she had a good run, although a little bit of a checkered path on the inside, but she ran great as well. It was a strong race, I think, on Saturday. And yeah, the key is, as you said, you know, he's going to be up towards the top of the weights, and it'll be depending on the opposition and how much weight he's got to give them, but Flemington will suit him.
I think it will too. You ride at Caulfield on Wednesday, the Blue Sapphire. You ride a Thelric for Godolphin. Is Profiteer the one to beat? What do you make of your horse's chances?
Yeah, Thelric, I think, will run well. Probably better suited back to the 1200. Profiteer, we know, is a very good horse, but he's had trouble pacing himself in the past. So that'll depend on him how he rates himself as to how he's going to go. He's drawn well. I haven't had a close look at the structure of the race yet, but you know, those are the things that'll help. It'll be detrimental to his chances how he goes.
And Heresy, you ride in the 1,000 Guineas on Wednesday. Yeah,
Heresy, she's been really consistent. A great draw for a change. We've had some average draws in recent times. So yeah, she gets a good chance to run out a mile, and you know, she'll be thereabouts again. There's probably a couple of better horses on form in the race, but she's going to be thereabouts.
Hayden?
After what's the opinion you have of yourself, Damien, after you win on a horse like Kementari? Is there a little bit of reminding yourself that I am still the big man on campus to everybody else? And is there a few texts that go around as to plenty of the boys who couldn't have got the job done in the past? What's it feeling like winning on a horse like him?
No, mate, I don't pump up my own tyres, or not really into that sort of stuff. I'm not on social media, but it was nice to get him home. I know he's a very a bit maligned by some of the punters out there, but I know in the Godolphin team he's one of their favourites. So I know the team was very happy for me to get him over the line the other day.
Just on that, Hayden, I was one of the fortunate ones allowed on course. I know there aren't any crowds, but I put out a tweet with you screaming Kementari over the line. I asked, you know, can you hear that on TV, guys? I got a tweet back. Do you calling out to Kementari, how do you know you're not encouraging the horses next to you to run past you as well?
Yeah, I do get that sometimes from the other jockeys, but and you know, there's a very odd occasion it might work against me, but I feel it works for me more than it does against me, that's for sure.
Yeah, it certainly did. Did it feel like that helped you over the line in that race? That's one that's really going to stand out for me when I think about Ollie screaming one over the line.
Yeah, look, I knew that I had to time that horse's run to perfection to get him there, and I was waiting as long as I could, and I felt I'd waited ample time, but I still hit the front probably with 100 to go, and I could feel him having a little bit of a think about it as we drove towards the line, and you know, I had to get every bit of encouragement into him to get him there, and we managed to just get him over the line.
Hayden?
On another aspect, I'm very interested in your thoughts on this. Craig Williams had a plain day from a rider's aspect, and you've been in this position probably more times than most, where you've had a fantastic book of cards, book of rides. There's been a level of expectation about what you've gone out, what you've got on the day, and it hasn't worked. You know, from the analytical side, we can sit back and see why things haven't gone to plan, and then you go back and do your replays and say, okay, this is the tactical planning that Craig's reverted to, and it hasn't worked. How do you get over that, especially so early in a carnival when That's the first day, Caulfield Guineas Day, and there's a big carnival ahead for Willow. How does he recover from a day like that?
Well, I suppose Craig and most jockeys are pretty resilient kind of characters. I mean, racing, unfortunately, is a game you get beaten more than you win, and you kind of got to get used to. You got to develop a thick hide. And I think over a long period of time, jockeys, we have more disappointments than we do celebrations, you might say. I think you go back through your day and you look, every race I ride in, I look back and think, what could I have done different to change the outcome of that race to get a better result? And, you try and learn from your mistakes if you make them, and you probably learn more from your mistakes than you do from your victories, to be honest. But you have to have the ability to just park it to the side if you do make a mistake, even in a day, because you might have 7 or 8 different rides in a day for different people, different connections, and they want the best out of you every time you turn up. So you have to have the ability to switch off, park something, and then start again. So, and that's race to race, let alone week to week. So as you have a longer career and over a period of time, you have to have the ability to do that to become successful at what you do. If you can't do that, well, then it's certainly going to hold you back from where you want to get to.
Craig's renowned for just borrowing or lending other riders' horses for the big races and then returning them after he's finished with them. Do you think a few jockeys go, okay, now's my turn, I'm just going to give a couple of little phone calls in and let trainers know that I am available if you'd like things done differently?
I'm sure it's known as snake season in the spring carnival. That happens regularly.
I might be able to share the news, actually. I'm hearing that Sydney jockeys will be allowed to come down. They might have to quarantine for 6 days. So we might see J-Mac actually pinch the ride on Zaki in the Cox Plate. And I'm not sure if Willow can ride at 49.5, but he might get the ride on Anamoe. So it's swings and roundabouts, isn't it, Ollie?
Well, I'm sure Willow will be working the phones if that's the case.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. Now, I hope you don't mind entertaining a few questions from some of the young guys in the group. Jace McMahon's asked about Anamoe's chances in a Cox Plate. I think we've covered that off. Kane O'Halloran asked, how the hell are you going to lose 5 kilos before Saturday? So I think we've covered that off too, Ollie. Matt James wants to know, what's your opinion? Does weight actually affect a horse's chance in a race?
I'm a great believer. I don't think 1 or 2 kilos makes a hell of a lot of difference, but I think when you start getting to 3, probably 3+, and when you get 3 to 6 kilos, and I have a theory, when there's a horse anchored at the top of the weight, say one's got 60, and then you have a lot of horses saying the minimum 54, I reckon that makes a difference as well. When there's a spread of the weights, I find it doesn't make as big a difference.
So can you feel that maybe a horse feels a lot more comfortable? It's like, yeah, I've got nothing on my back today. I can actually let down a bit better than I do sometimes.
I wouldn't go that far, but it just makes it harder for them to accelerate sometimes. And then on the other hand, if you've got a truly run race too, it can actually make the horses with more weight carry their weight, so to speak.
Yep. A question from John Pay. You might have to reminisce a little bit here, Ollie, but the best sprinter, the best mile middle distance horse, and the best stayer you've ever ridden? All
right. So there's been a lot over the years. I may forget some here, but some of them. So the sprinters, I would go along the lines of, in no particular order, like Scalacci, Alinghi, Testarossa, Falbalon. Patchy Cat probably just sneak in there too.
Yep.
They're the sprinters that I can think of off the top of my head. The milers, it's a bit tricky. I'll probably stretch some of those out to Nelly milers because they probably nearly do too. So more the sprinter milers than the stayers I'd probably separate. But, of the more distance horses, horses like Northerly, Naturalism. I rode a great horse in Japan. He was Japan Cup winner. I ran second on him in the Emperor's Cup there, the Tenno show, called Zeno Rob Roy. Just got beaten on him easy in that race, but he gave me a super field horse, and I got huge admiration of Japanese horses, even Pop Rock that got beaten in a Melbourne Cup. But they're probably some of the better distance horses. And Fiorente, of course, too. He was a ripper as well. He just came and went too soon, unfortunately, after he went and missed the autumn after the Melbourne Cup.
Yeah, he was a star. And one question here from Mintbet. What do you want to achieve? What's the What does he want to achieve most in the remainder of his career?
Well, firstly, the Caulfield Cup this week would be a nice start. And, you know, just any of the big races would be great to win, you know, in the twilight of my career. So I'd be happy with any of those, but I'm just really enjoying still competing at a high level and enjoying, you know, riding well and riding good winners, you know, as I'm pushing 50.
Does a race like the Everest interest you?
The paycheck does, although we're a bit stranded here of getting there at the moment. So who knows? I've ridden it once, but unfortunately I was on Vega Magic on a wet track, and he was a bit of an elephant on roller skates that day.
Yeah, Hayden.
Is there any truth to the rumor, Damien, that your arms are relatively short in comparison to your pockets?
Don't believe everything you hear, Hayden.
No, that's fair enough. I was good shout out to one of my favourites, Northerly, who failed to get a mention in the top 600 horses you've ever ridden.
No, I did mention him.
You mentioned Northerly.
Yep.
I apologise. Mine was getting broken up. And a shout out to my late father, who treated himself to about 35 stubbies after having $50 on the Doremus Cup stubble.
Beautiful. Yeah, he was. That was one I did fail to mention. He was a beauty too.
And yeah, you've forgotten to mention, obviously, Media Puzzle. He mightn't have been the best horse, but he might have given you the best story.
Yeah, very memorable. He had just a hot spring that year, winning Geelong and Melbourne Cups, and he was a great horse and very memorable for us too.
How accurate's the movie where you got instructions on how to ride the horse in the Geelong Cup, and you went totally against it?
Yeah, pretty close to the mark. It was a bit dramatised, some parts of it, but was most of it was pretty close. I had a lot to do with the script writing there, and even I was a technical director on some of the vision of the writing scenes as well.
Are you able to go back and watch that movie at all, or is it like writing an autobiography and then never picking it up again?
No, I've watched it a few times. I actually watched it on a plane, which was the strangest place of all time to watch it, not long after it had been out. And I was with my daughter flying to Perth, and I could see people crying all around me, and got me crying. And it was quite emotional.
Your ride gold trip in the Cox Plate. And what does obviously Delphi in the Caulfield Cup? Are you yet to book a ride for the Melbourne Cup?
Yeah, haven't committed to either yet, but both of those horses are chances possibly going towards the Melbourne Cup. So we'll see how the next week or two unfolds.
Pretty exciting. How do you feel about this spring? And obviously crowds announced yesterday that they'll be back at the Cup. Does it make a big difference having, you know, at least some crowds there at the races? Yeah,
it will be great to have some people back. It's, you know, I don't think any sport is quite the same without the crowd there. You know, we watch football, and racing's the same. It certainly builds the atmosphere and the tension, and makes it so much better to watch, I feel, and even to participate in as well. So it'll be great to hear the crowd cheering and screaming instead of me for a change.
Yeah, that's right. You've been generous with your time. I'll let Hayden finish off, and we'll let you get back to getting ready for this weekend.
Thanks, guys. All the best.
My last question for you, Damien, is if we could pinch someone else's ride for the carnival. Unfortunately, they've got to hop off, and you're about to jump on. Who's the horse you're riding?
Oh, that's a good point. Let me see. Well, I think just the obvious ones, but you know, Incentivize has been great up to now, but he's still got to continue to do it at Caulfield and Flemington maybe over the 2 miles. But you know, I'm pretty happy with Delphi going into this Saturday, and you know, going ahead. I think the Cox Plate's become a little bit more open now with, you know, both Saki and the mare getting beat the other day. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with my lot at the moment. So hopefully some nice winners can come of them.
You feel like there's a real chink in the armour of Zaki now?
Beg your pardon?
Sorry, do you feel like there's a real chink in Zaki's armour now?
Well, he showed he's beatable. You know, I mean, he's still obviously going to be hard to beat. And, you know, maybe if the track comes up a little bit softer there at the Valley, that might be a bit more to his liking. But, you know, it just goes to show in racing there's no such thing as a moral.
Right.
You got a table for 4 at a restaurant. You can invite 3 trainers out for dinner, Damien. Who are the 3 trainers you're inviting, and who's the one that you're giving a call to let them know that you're going out for dinner with 3 other trainers and they're definitely not invited?
Oh, shit. I might pass on that one. Thanks, mate.
Well, would it be fair that Gay, one of the Freedman boys, and Danny O'Brien get an invitation to the thing, and you probably give Johnny Sadler a call and just let him know that the day's on and he won't be coming?
Sads is always entertaining anyway, isn't he? But no, that was a bit of fun, that one. Sads is, as long as you get the good Sads turn up, there's no worries there. And
in Sadler fashion, is there a story from D. Oliver's career, whether it be a riding story? We had a fantastic story from Zach Purton in regards to he went over and rode a horse in England, and the owners wanted to try and get him on the Terps the night before, and he kindly knocked them back. Is there a story from Damien Oliver's career that doesn't typically hit free-to-air television that you might be able to let the punters enjoy on an unsponsored podcast?
Well, actually, just mentioning Hong Kong there made me think of one. I was riding there in a race one day and against Johnny Murto, a good mate of mine, and I saw him after the running of the race. We're going out of the turn at Sha Tin, and he's chased after his jockey, another jockey on his horse, ridden after him, and hit him right across the back with the whip. And I thought, Jesus, what's happened there? So I've followed him back, and we go back into scale, and there's a young Chinese jockey complaining to the steward there that, you know, Johnny had just hit him with the whip, and Johnny's just ambling in behind him. I'm following Johnny, so I'm going to watch here, see what's going on here. And the steward said to Johnny Murdo, he said, "Is that right, Mr. Murdo? Did you just hit this young jockey across the back of the whip?" And he said, "Bloody oath I did. If he knocks me down again, I'll do it twice as hard." So it was hilarious to see.
Ollie, thanks for your time today, mate. Good luck in the Caulfield Cup. You know, we'll wrap to see you win the Guineas. And good luck in the Caulfield Cup. I think Delphi's a really, really live chance, and it's a fair steer when you're keen to lose some weight to ride him.
Thanks, guys. Yep, let's hope he can get across there for us. It'd be great.
Thanks, Ollie. Feel free to hit end. I know you're not all that tech savvy, but there should be a spot in the
yeah, got it, lead.
The left quarter. No, thanks, mate.
Thanks, Damien.
No worries, bye.
All right, Hayden, that was great fun. Obviously, I'm thunderstruck, and Tafane and Anamoe were top 3 performances of the day. What else would you like to review out of the Caulfield meeting?
I think all things being fair, I was negative towards I'm thunderstruck leading into the race itself. I said that he was a profile that I would like to take on. I had him positioned further back than where he was. I thought he'd be back in the Superstorm territory, which would make it very difficult for him to win. I was really taken by everybody's efforts to go and put this horse into the race. And that's one thing that we do like here. We like horses to get up, get involved, and let's see what you're made of. No more pretending and nowhere to hide. So there was definitely nowhere to hide from this horse. He's not the same horse, even though people have had an opinion of him going forward. From a ratings perspective, he's 100% not the same horse anymore. He's a big time performer. He's that big a time performer that, you know, in the old days, this is a horse I'd typically now look to be backing in a race like a Cox Plate. That's how big he's gone. That's how big the PB is. So it's unfortunate that there is a race in Sydney worth more than the Cox Plate itself, and you could take on only your own age and a restriction of 12 months. So obviously they're going to go chase the pennies and most likely take them. It's going to be very difficult for horses in Sydney to compete with the level that he's prepared to go to. I thought Tafane was excellent. There's been knocks over. I knocked her at a mile. I know that you've been against her at a mile. Jules Valance last week said there's holes in her at a mile. Well, she's, she's found the fast ground, and she's been happy to get in there and get boxing with them. They gave those in behind them very little opportunity, like Superstorm, etc. And the hot speeds busted the rest up. Anamoe and the Guineas was just, that was just outstanding. He knew at the corner. I have said in the past, Damien feels for the horse and says, okay, have I got a kick here or not? I'll go to the outside if I do. And when he does, you can basically start lining up in the queue you're going to collect. I thought the second horse was, was really taken by him. We spoke to the boys at Newgate a couple of weeks ago. And, you know, all the talking was going in the direction of Artorias and Tiger of Malay, and this one didn't get a lot of airtime. Well, you know, the boys at China Horse Club and Newgate, they've got another good horse on the scene. They've got 4 really, really smart 3-year-olds who've got really bright futures. So, you know, definitely no knock on him. He's going to add a new dynamic to the Cox Plate if he's prepared to, you know, if he thrives off that 9.5 lengths above benchmark first section. It's going to be magical for a horse like him. He's proven that he can handle some pressure. So if they want to serve it up in a Cox Plate, he can do it. And he's the sort of horse, you know, I don't think he's the same talent level at this point as a horse like Seamus Award, but, you know, if we want to use the weight and we want to go to the front, he's certainly a runner that, you know, you wouldn't begrudge going to the front in a race like a Cox Plate on.
No chance. Seamus Award hadn't even won a race heading into the Cox Plate. He's a Group 1 winner over a mile, and he's run second in a Group 1 Guineas. So I thought, Saturday for me was moving day. You know, for some, and I'm not a big futures bet, but I'm happy to, you know, have a futures bet on I'm Thunderstruck in the Golden Eagle at $4. Happy to have a futures bet on Tofane at 5 in an Empire Rose. Now that we know that Probable's going to a Cox Plate, she looks like the standout mare at a mile. I'm happy to spec Captive On at $9 the place in a Cox Plate because, as you said, I think he can be that 3-year-old on pace. Nothing against Anamoe. They could both fill the placings like All Too Hard and Piero did behind Ocean Park back in the day. That's what sort of Guineas it was. So, you know, there's a few futures bets there, I think, as well. Let's talk about Zaki. Probable got the job done. Nonconformist actually heads towards the Caulfield Cup too, and that's another horse that we've been knocking, or, you know, we haven't really seen, you know, that top line talent from him, but geez, he's gone, you know, through the roof. Let's talk about him first because the Caulfield Cup's this Saturday. Where does Nonconformist stack up?
He's been very good here at 2,000 metres. His big challenge now is trying to take this profile up to 2,400. It's going to bring, you know, new dynamic, new race shape, etc., etc. So from a Caulfield Cup point of view, he's definitely in the mix. I think the most exciting part of this Caulfield Cup is we're all really taken by Incentivise. You know, there's the comparables starting to come in. People are thinking that he's got a little bit of might and power about him, where it's basically put me on speed, serve up whatever you like, I'll cop it, and then I'll run off on you. This just feels like there's going to be like a swarm of bees coming at him. I think Matty Hill calls him Young Werther. Yep. Young Werther will be there. Nonconformist will be there. Delphi will be there. We've got a series of horses here that are prepared to go into the 5 level at 2,000, 2,400. You know, this isn't going to be a walk in the park. And I think if Incentivise does go out and monster this lot, he is a serious racehorse. And this is the one, you know, that's going to confirm him that he's big time. He's going to go bright career. He's going to be very hard to beat in all the big classic style cup races. You know, if he did bully them in a Caulfield Cup, there's no reason in the world why he couldn't back up the week later and beat the similar lot in a Cox Plate. So do you look back in a week's time and say, well, you know, he's killed them in a cup. He jumps red figures in a Cox Plate because everyone's now prepared to take on Zaki. Or does the other thing come in, which I've been a little bit boisterous about over time, saying that these horses that do come from Brisbane, Oliver mentioned it before, they've got residual fitness, the break's shorter. A lot of them had to travel Sydney to Brisbane, Brisbane to Sydney, Sydney to Melbourne. They've had a lot taken out of them, you know, in terms of being in floats, in travel. They haven't had the typical break that they have to gain the weight. So the residual fitness is stuck, but they also don't get the opportunity to have a full campaign and go back to the big level. They can only go back to their typical profile. Zaki, that was my concern with him. It's in the 4s. He's gone the 3.7 lengths above. I'm not a knocker of riders, but I think if Willow had his time again, when he flushed Homesman and made him go because he felt no effort was kaput, he would have stuck in behind. He would have stuck in behind Homesman rather than trying to pull out an attack. And I think the other two were very, very smart by saying, no, if we go out and get involved, we'll just bust ours up as well. And they basically just got to tail that big squeeze. Like, there's a massive squeeze, like non-conformist 11 lengths. But when the 11 length squeeze is throwing you into the 6.5, 7 lengths above benchmark combined second section, it'll break most of them. So, he has got a ceiling, Zaki, and he has got a breaking point, and reaction to a squeeze is the breaking point for him. So good race, wasn't it? Interesting.
It was very interesting. As you said, I think they went -3 through the first section. They, all sort of had that big sort of 8, 9, 10 length. Non-conformist was 11 length mid-race squeeze, and then, +3. Not probably on non-conformist, both run +3 the last section. So they've run big figures. Probable heads to the Cox Plate now. Non-conformist, as I said, Craig Williams takes the ride with not much weight in the Caulfield Cup. And Zaki, let me put one more thing to you, Hayden. He had that win. Let me just get up his record. Is there a chance that run on Saturday was his flat run? Because he had that win at Randwick in the tramway. He beat Anamoe and Star of the Seas pretty soft through the first section, squeeze in the mid-race and zip home. Then he's gone to the Underwood, and they've gone pretty quick through the first section in the Underwood. And I'd have to get that back up. You probably got it a lot handier than me. Is there a chance that increase in early speed from the first up run to the second up run has left him somewhat flat this third up run?
I wouldn't expect it to. The reason that I say I don't have that level of expectation. He went 7.5 lengths above benchmark through the first section at Doomben when he ran the monster number that, had every statistician talking, that we've just seen the reincarnation of Farlap. And then he's backed up relatively quickly, not quick, but relatively quickly in the grand scheme of things. Gone to Eagle Farm 2200, produced the 9 lengths above benchmark first section, had the audacity to kick back again late. So he's proven in the past that he can handle some pressure. The one thing he hasn't proven in the past that he can do is run real big numbers when he's getting... Sorry, I'll take that back. What we spoke about last week is that out of the handful of runs with this horse, he's got a typical profile which puts him in the 4.5s. He's got the flash in the pan run Doomben. He's come out, we can make every excuse up in the world for him, but he didn't handle the squeeze on the weekend, and he's gone back to that 3.7 lengths above IVR benchmark level. Now he puts another tick in the box to say, okay, I've got 7 examples there that I can't win a Cox Plate, and I've got one that puts me $1.80 chance or shorter, Yeah,
we did speak about this on Friday, that he does. It's only that one performance that I guess he's hanging his hat on. But
that's right. And then we spoke about his performance Sandown. And even though there was some velocity early, it wasn't, for this caliber of horse, mate, a 4.7 lengths above first section. That's not going very quick for a horse like Zaki.
But he was minus 5.4 first section the start prior. So that's what I was sort of asking, whether that, 10 lengths.
Yeah, that's okay. But he's home benchmark, second up this campaign. The little worrying sign with him was the drop-off last 200. We spoke about that. There was an element of him being eased up, but there was a drop-off. That's a concern. He's dropped off again here. He hasn't been able to sustain it. People can blame ground and all that garbage. At the end of the day, the alarm bells have got to start to ring. To me, they've been ringing for a couple of weeks. But here, how hard do you want to go up and put the daggers into horse at $1.25?
Yeah. All right. I think we've probably covered off Caulfield there with, where some of those horses are going. Just quickly, Paul Alley was the performance of the day at Randwick. Godolphin have announced today that they're actually going with trekking in the Everest this Saturday. So Paul Alley is likely to come to Melbourne for a race like the Manikato, is a +4 against those second-tier sprinters. Going to do the trick in a Manikato. Does it look like a Moonee Valley Colt?
He's a lovely colt, isn't he? He just looks push button. He thrived on that race shape. If you had your money on Paul Alley on the weekend and you got that $2 for him, you would have been on extremely good terms with yourself. As he cornered, you can just tell with J-Mac when it's game over, it's game over. He knew it. He just let him extend and away he went. His last 200, 4.3 lengths above benchmark, last 200 was just, it was breathtaking to watch. Class horse, had a fantastic campaign for a 3-year-old colt, so he can just go on. He'll thrive on that. Impossible default, mate. He could come here and easily mix it with the second tier.
Well, he might go Manicato, and then he might meet the likes of Inda Congo in a Coolmore down the straight. So it's certainly going to be interesting following him. And Profondo was the Group 1 winner at Randwick on Saturday.
Yeah, it was unfortunate that we went searching for Profondo in the Derby market. And there's no dollar sign next to him, nor is there a nomination for him in a Derby. And for some reason, no one wants their stay in to win a Derby because for some reason it it undervalues them, if anything. What a fantastic horse to watch! What a fantastic performance. Ryder got a little bit happy with himself between the 4 and the 2, and that slowdown's a little bit artificial. But then just said, clickety click, see you later. Yeah. And the big boy just launched. He's got a minimum of 2 lengths up his sleeve, which put him into the 5 range, and he's going to get that 5 range at the 2000. So the world's his oyster. Wouldn't it just be magnificent if he could have had a little bit more grounding leading up to now, and we could have seen a horse like him going into a Cox Plate. Wouldn't he throw a dynamic into it? He's just, to me, he just feels like I'm watching It's a Done Deal again.
Yeah, no, he's a very interesting horse. We were on Head of State, who was beaten 37 lengths and obviously had an issue. I think it was a breathing issue for Head of State. So, it is what it is there. That's horse racing. All right, I think it's important we announce that we've got a special show this week ahead of the Everest because we are the next gen of racing show and the Everest is the race targeted at us. Can you reveal who our special guests are on tomorrow's show? Because we're actually going to do something we haven't done before. We're going to have 4 of us on the show. So you, me, and who are our 2 guests?
Just a couple of guys, a couple of quiet chaps from up Sydney way. Going to jump on and have a little chat to us about a little race up in Sydney called the Everest. It's a race that we talk about often, don't we? As soon as basically these horses come to the forefront in the spring, we get excited when the sprinters come to town and we join in with the build-up with everybody else. A gentleman who was the brains trust behind the race itself, Mr. Peter V'landys, and a man who has won every single race in Australia, but he's also won this one.
He hasn't won the Caulfield Cup yet.
He probably never will because he'll try and win the Everest every single year. But a gentleman by the name of Mr. Glenn Boss. So it should be enjoyable to be in the same chat room as the pair.
That's it. So tomorrow, Everest special, next gen. Peter V'landys, Glenn Boss, Hayden, Byrne, Damien Ractliffe, all on the one show. We're going to talk about the Everest. Hayden, get out your daily sectionals data because I want you to break down the race in front of Bossy. He rides Home Affairs, who I know you've got a little twinkle in your eye about. And, Peter V'landys is going to be great to chat to about this race that's really captured the next gen. So looking forward to that special edition of the next gen show tomorrow, mate. I'll catch you then. That was exceptional to speak to somebody that the next gen followers know is he is my favourite. Let's not muck around here. He is my number 1 man. Closely followed by his 2 compadres, Mr. Tommy Berry and Mr. Damien Lane, who's going to be the last target for this year to get onto the show. Then I've got all 3 amigos. What a gentleman. And to Ollie, thank you very much for joining us. Yeah, it was great. And thanks for those who got involved in our next gen Dress to Impress Guineas. The winner was JT. He picks up a MRC Super Box to this Saturday at home at Caulfield, a Caulfield Cup Day, and also a $200 Oxford clothing voucher. So congratulations to him. Mate, I'll catch you tomorrow for our Everest special.
Thank you very much. Bye from now.
See you, mate.